Welcome to Lynn's Warriors, where we confront the truths that many avoid and we stand up for the protection of children everywhere. Today, we're taking on a subject too many people still tiptoe around radicalization and how it's reaching our kids faster than most families even realize. We're joined by Kevin Branzetti, a nationally respected leader in law enforcement and intelligence who has spent years tracking how vulnerable minds are targeted, groomed, and pulled into dangerous ideologies online and also in the real world. Let me tell you a little bit about Kevin. First, we're going to thank him for his service to our country. Also, NYPD, but he served NYPD Police Department and the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, specializing, this is important, in terrorism and violent extremism for 20 plus years. So he knows what he's talking about. That's why I want all of you warriors to listen up to what we are about to share with you. Maybe difficult to listen to, but you have to know what's going on. And also, he co-founded the National Child Protection Task Force in 2019, and under his guidance, developed innovative strategies and collaborations with the world's foremost experts to combat the most heinous crimes against society's most vulnerable, making an impact in the lives of hundreds of children each year. And that's what it's all about. So we are going to have all of the information, Kevin, in the body of this website for NCPTF.org. This is not abstract. This is happening in bedrooms, on phones, and behind screens that parents are trusting. So let's get to it, Kevin. Welcome back, I'm going to say, to the Warriors.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Lynn. I enjoy our conversations on and off the air.
There, you know what? I like that. Listen, I want everybody listening right now, they hear the word radicalization, Kevin. I just got back from Washington and I brought it up to a few people, like, fishing around. What do you know about it? What do you hear? I didn't get many concrete answers or people really knowing about it. So we're going to start with a very simple question. When we say radicalization, what is it? And what does that actually look like in a child's or a teen's life?
Radicalization has lots of forms. It is bringing a person into the world of violent ideologies. That violence is the answer. And that could be from school shooters, to people who support ISIS and Al-Qaeda, to people who support neo-Nazi movements, bombing of abortion clinics, killing of our politicians. There's a wide spectrum of what radicalization is, but it's being brought into that fold of an ideology where you believe it so heavily that violence is the only answer.
I have a lot of questions for you, Kevin, about this one. So, online, right? Internet, social media, the ages for all kinds of exploitation, younger and younger. In your expert opinion, what you know about, what you can share, what is the age children are really starting to get exposed to all of this today?
Our children get exposed to everything the day we hand them unfettered access to the internet. Right? It starts very, very quickly. Right? They may not go down a crazy path at 11 when you hand them a phone or an iPad, but the door's open. Right? Like, we've opened the door to a lot of things. The internet is the outside. And I always go back to, when I grew up, we were taught, and with our kids, my kids, I have 4 of them. We teach our kids, we spend tons and tons of energy and time teaching them to protect themselves outside. Mm-hmm. That same energy, if not more, needs to be placed on our kids to protect them for the internet. And we don't.
Kevin, that's the question I ask every day. Like, I really don't understand it, because as a society, we were so strict, that old, seatbelts and bike helmets even, and stranger danger and all of that stuff, right? But I don't understand, Kevin. I'm not kidding. I do ask this every day, like, why we don't have that same kind of, feelings and outpouring of protection and doing this to protect our kids about online, because handing a device to a child, a teen, to anybody is opening them up to the world. Strangers. Why is the mindset? We've been talking about this for years. It's getting better, in my opinion, right? There's hope.
I agree.
But still, I'm sitting in the middle of New York City and people still say to me, I didn't know that. My child would never do that. I never heard this radicalization. Why is there resistance, Kevin, in your opinion, to all this?
I think it's natural, and it's what's happened for 100 years, right? When cars first came around, how many years did it take us to put seatbelts in cars? You talked about a bike helmet. I didn't wear a bike helmet.
Yeah, I didn't
You
either.
know, I still don't wear a bike helmet, right? Like, that's just between you and I,
Yeah.
right? But it took years and years of things happening, and then the wake up happens. We put seatbelts in cars. We put car seats in cars. None of us could fathom today a 6-month-old child sitting on a mom's lap in the front seat of a car. Boy, did that happen in the past.
Right.
The internet is new. Our phones are new. The smartphone is new. We haven't caught up as people to learn all the bad things. Unfortunately, we have to have lots and lots. This is how societies work for 100 years. Lots of bad things happen. We wake up, we put new rules in, we educate better, and we get better at it. We're at that beginning phase still, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I'm just going to add a little bit to that. Okay, let's leverage now the internet for good. So we do have more information available to us. We do have different opinions, different studies, stats. I just got back from Washington with what we call survivor parents, who's 60 of them, whose children have basically died from social media, sextortion, cyberbullying, eating disorders, buying a pill on Snap, thinking it's a Percocet, but it has fentanyl in it. So we do have today more awareness, more education. And I feel like AI now, there's more talk about it, more everything. So that's why this conversation we're having today is so important, Kevin. People, we have things available. So people really do have to, whether you share what we're talking about today on your platforms, whether you dig into, Kevin's organization, the Warriors, we got to make them, Kevin. We know the internet started in 1996. We had the 2 court cases recently in New Mexico and California holding Meta responsible for harms, right? So we have more. So people really have to wake up. I guess we have to work harder to wake them up or something. But we do have a lot today, and I know people are overwhelmed, right, with life. So this is the last thing they can really think about. But I want you to explain. So most kids have, I don't know, I read different things, but most kids 9 to 17 have access to 4 to 7 devices, Chromebooks and phones and gaming and all that. What do you think are the most common entry points for somebody listening and they've got a couple of kids or even one child? Like, where does this radicalization start online?
When you have the ability to have open chats with people you don't know.
That's it.
That's
Explain what that means. Open chat.
It doesn't matter what I'm using. If I'm using my phone and I'm watching videos, if I'm playing video games on my computer, if I'm using my school laptop and I'm doing stuff. But if I have access to people, or more importantly, people have access to me, and I can communicate one-on-one or in groups with strangers, right? Like once that happens, once that opening happens, that's where the possibility of danger begins, right? And it could be everything from child exploitation, radicalization, to, pushing you further through your depression to suicide. Oh, there's hundreds of things that could happen, but it's allowing our kids to have access to strangers. And it's everywhere. Like I said, it's on everything you have.
But you know what, Kevin? Because you know what? Most of us lock our front and back doors, right, where we live.
Yeah.
But we don't. I know I use that old analogy, but it's like, I don't understand why we're not locking the internet to a certain degree. And we have programs, we have guardrails, we have conversation with the kids. But it really does seem like these bad actors are predators, criminals, whatever you want to call them. Horrible. I won't say monsters because I think that word's too light for them, but they just seem to be 10 steps ahead of law enforcement and certainly of the public, right? So I don't understand that, because we know all this now. Like we're not addressing that more, pouring the resources more into that. There is technology. I'm branching off here a little bit. So let me go back. Explain to our listeners, our warriors, how fast a stranger online can identify a vulnerable kid.
They're professionals at it. I mean, they know. These kids who are longing to belong somewhere, longing to feel love, longing to feel part of something, they express that pretty openly, right? It's
Right.
in their profile pictures, it's in their statements, and so it's kind of easy, especially if you're the person on the other side, the bad actor, when you're talking to 50, 60, 100, 150 different young people, to find the one who's really in there. I want that attention. I need it. I need somebody to give me something. Um, it, it's not that difficult, unfortunately.
Yeah. But now you go into, Kevin, another program, but it's like youth mental health, right?
Yeah, of course.
Isolation, living on the devices anyway, right? Kind of thing. So that's where they're conversing with people, that need for everybody to look at me kind of thing, or seeking that love. I mean, that being said, what do you think are some early warning signs? Parents, because I constantly have parents come to me after the fact, which, okay, and no judgment here, right? We are pro technology, pro innovation, but
Of
we want
course.
everybody to be safe. I want to get that out of the way right now. We're not trying to ban anything. We don't come from that school. We live in a digital world. We want safety. We want big tech accountability. But parents are always like, I miss these signs. Now I know what they are. But in your expert opinion, what would be in a child some of these signs that perhaps they're online too long, they're being radicalized, there's something weird with them?
You have to take, well, so I got two different things on this. One is you have to take an interest in what they're doing online. You have to learn a little bit, right? Like, most of it's innocent. Overwhelming majority of it's innocent. Take an interest. Your goal as a parent with online should be your kid at some point coming to you and saying, "Mom, Dad, this weird thing happened to me."
Yeah.
Right? And a proud dad moment, right? Your teenage child, mine has happened to me. Your teenage child calls me up 1 o'clock in the morning. "Dad, I'm drunk. I need you to pick me up."
Oh, good.
My
That's good.
child might be a little young to have been drunk, and there's a part of me there's an anger, but they knew the rule. No judgment. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Yeah.
That's what I want with my kids. That should be our same goal with the internet. I want my child to come to me and say, "Dad, there's this kind of strange person who's reaching out to me and wants to chat and is asking me to talk on another app." That's a proud parent moment. All right? That's the
Yeah.
moment that makes me smile and go, "I did something right here." And that's what we should be aiming for as parents. So what does that take? You got to go backwards. We have to then have those conversations with our kids. Dinner at the, I've preached this from day one. We should have dinner with our kids every single night from the time they're toddlers till they leave your house. All right. But at that dinner table, showing my kid going, "Look at my Facebook account. See this woman who, this account trying to friend me?" You know, and it could be anything from, I get a, I'm a 55-year-old divorced male. I get a 25-ish-year-old girl from the Midwest trying to befriend me, who's, scantily dressed in her photos. She ain't interested in. But I know that's fake, and there's going to be some sort of scam, some sort of thing. I get text all the time for things. I show my kids these things. Show your kid. Say, look at this goofball and what they're sending me. I want it normalized in their world.
Right.
But my whole end result is I want that equivalent to the 2 o'clock in the morning, "Dad, I'm drunk. Can you pick me up?" call. I want my kid to show me, "Dad, I may have did something bad. I may have made a mistake here today. I may even have sent a picture." Oh, zero
Yeah.
judgment, zero punishment. I'm not taking their phone from them for it. Right? None of that will happen. We're going to have a talk and we're going to work our way through it. But that should be always our goal as parents, that we've taught them enough that they will come to us when there's a stranger, in that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
We expect that on the street. Teach them that on the street, right? Your kid will come running home. Mom, Dad, I was at the playground and some guy came up to me while I was on the swing. Oh, we're getting in the car and we're going hunting for that person, right? Like we've expected that, we've done that for decades as us, but we need that now transferred into the internet.
Yeah. I'm glad, Kevin, you said that, because it's something that I've switched to teaching actually in the last year, to parents and grandparents, the trusted adults, the family members, like no matter how hard it is, if your child exchanged a nude image, this is the world that's been thrown at them. They've grown up in like the 30s and under, like
Yeah.
you cannot react and scream and like tell them, what did you do? And blah, blah. Like you have to be calm and say, okay, I'm glad you came to me.
Yep.
And I may not like it, but we're going to fix it. We're going to,
Yeah.
and the other thing, that I think is, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, finish.
No,
well,
that's the big thing that like they can't. Sorry, Kevin.
We'll both do it. You go. No, I'm stopping.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. So I want to hear from you. But just that is really what I've been teaching. Is I finally I realized about a year ago when so many parents kept saying, "Oh, no, I got rid of an image. I yelled at them." They'll never. No, inappropriate. We're the adults. We don't like any of this, right? Well, but these are our precious kids. This is the world we live in. We've got to take action, right? And we've got to be the ones that are going to tell me it's okay. Okay, yeah, we didn't like what you did. It doesn't matter. We love you. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this, Kevin, and then I'll let you speak, is because I deal with so many parents from across the country who say to me, if they had just come to me, like we know about nude images, we know about whatever, we know, we've even spoken to them, right, about stuff. But their child would kill themselves over sextortion, a teen boy.
God, it's awful.
When many parents who don't even know each other, because they tell me the same thing, if they just came to me, yeah, sure, I didn't like it, I wouldn't like it, but they have no reason to be embarrassed. I have heard that from New York to California and everywhere in between. So the kids have to know, like, you can't kill yourself over a stranger who basically, and I don't like saying this, if they can't get something from you, they're on to the next. They're on to the next. They're not gonna hang around. They're not going to, no amount of money is going to stop them. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? If somebody, let's focus for a minute on sextortion with teen boys in particular.
Yeah. It's a huge problem. I would say it's probably in every high school in the country.
Yeah.
There's a teen boy who has been targeted. Most of them get through it without any major problem, right? Like there's going to be some trauma afterwards, or a lot of boys, maybe even I'd say majority of boys are smart enough to go, no, and that's it. But that conversation about sextortion, we have to have with our teenage kids. I want my teenager. I have 2 kids above the teenage years, and I have 2 kids reaching and a rat.
Right? Oh wow, you got everybody.
Yeah. I want my kids, to be able to come to me, not just for like it happens to them, because they heard it happen to their friend Johnny, so that they'll tell me, and then we can help work our way into getting some help for that kid too. We're not just responsible for protecting our kids in our home. The phrase "it takes a village" is so true. We are all responsible for protecting each other's kids, because sometimes I may get the information about your kid, or you might get the information about mine. But we need to have that conversation with our kids long before the incident. I know every single parent who's been through this said if they only came to me, well, of course. All right, but we have to get in the habit of, like, these are icky conversations.
Horrible,
right?
yeah.
Like they're icky. Like you want to. I don't want to have like the talk with my child. Having the talk about sex with your child is ridiculously uncomfortable. Having a talk about sextortion with your child, nude images with your child, it's uncomfortable. So have it. If it's uncomfortable for me as a parent, and I'm 55, how uncomfortable is it for my child at 14? 10 times more uncomfortable. So I got to be the one first, not them. It's my responsibility to create the environment that they'll come to me. Will it work every time? No. But I'm in the belief of, as a parent, my goal is to raise the odds with everything. I raise the odds with that not happening, and them not getting into a car accident, getting run over, getting this, getting that. We just want to raise the odds into our favor of life. And most kids will survive.
Yeah. I also think children and teens, as I study and work with people, they really are looking for us as the adults to be that safe space, to mentor. I don't know if that's the word, to protect them, even the toughest teens, when you can break through to them eventually, they're actually looking for us to be that kind of parent or caregiver. What do you think about that? To give them some kind of guardrails and structure and programming of sorts. What do you think?
Absolutely. But it starts early, right? I'll go back to when you gave that kid
The device.
access to the internet, those conversations should have started, and they continue every year. And when they're teenagers, "Oh, Dad, I know. You don't have to." Great. That's the phrase I want to hear. I know, Dad. I'm not an idiot. Great. We're still going to talk about it. I don't mind that conversation with my child. Uh, I'm supposed to be called an idiot by them, a few times in their life, you know. So that's a good thing. But we need to normalize those conversations. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe you have to put it on the calendar. Maybe you have to.
I do think you have to structure. You have to structure.
As an adult, maybe I have to, as a reminder, we're busy, and this is what before we
That's it.
right? We have created a society where we, as all humans, as adults, we're all super busy. We have day jobs, we have kids have practices, and I am, a chauffeur, as much as I'm a dad at times, right? I'm driving to this, driving to that. I got to go here, got to do that, got to do this.
Yeah.
The downtime is minimal. So, if you're in that kind of thing, put it on your calendar. Put it on your calendar so you use the tech in your favor that way. Put it on your calendar. Say Thursday, 6 o'clock dinner. I'm going to talk about it, and maybe it helps pump you up because I say it again. These are not comfortable conversations. Nobody wants to talk about, radicalization, nude imagery, child, sexual abuse material. Nobody wants to. I want to.
But that's what these predators are counting on, that we'll be embarrassed. We won't talk about it. We won't address it. And they're cashing in, it sounds crass, so to speak. And, it seems to be escalating all around us. And big tech, well, as of today, no real accountability, for them with all of this. We work on a lot of legislation. We work on education, prevention. But until big tech is really held accountable more for some of this, with like a duty of care, right? We have our Kids Online Safety Act right now. I don't know, Kevin. They just seem to be strolling around doing their thing. Now we've got AI. That concerns me. Haven't we learned from the last 30 years, basically, of social media, internet, what can happen? Like, we should be using this now going into AI. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, AI will speed some things up bad, and it'll speed some things up good. It'll help investigators do things a lot faster. So, which means we catch them sooner, quicker.
Which is great.
Which is the good side of it. The bad side is, we're going to see, right, the epidemic of pornography, taking that kid's photo and me taking your face and creating porn with you and sending it all your friends, right? Like that's going to happen everywhere. It's going to happen in every school, and that's going to be the rage and bullying, right? So there's a lot of problems with AI. Big tech has blame, government has blame, parents have blame. My problem is I don't blame one entity. Right? We all have some fault in this. This is everybody's problem.
Yes.
And we're not sitting together as a community. And our politicians are the one who have the most power for this, right? Our people in Washington, to bring us together and say, well, how do we make this better? Right? Like big tech, sometimes you have to put laws on the books. They're a company and they're not going to do it. If you go back 20 years, 30 years ago, banks didn't help us with terrorist financing. They put the laws on the books and they had to do it. That was the end of it. Banks they're more than happy to share that. The child sexual abuse imagery, big tech wasn't sharing with us. They put laws on the books and forced them to not just share, that they must report. And they did it. Let's sit down and work through some of these things. Right? We're expecting one of the big tech companies to come up and say, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to be perfect. Well, if Meta and Snap were perfect, there's 100 other apps and to 1,000 other apps that won't be. And radicalization and these things are still going to exist. So I don't blame one app. Changing one social media app isn't going to put really to me, much of a dent. It's a societal thing. We got to change them all, right? We got to change how we teach our
Yeah.
kids. We got to change how we educate in schools. We got to change how the laws that are on the books to match today's crimes. All of these things need to get done. But we kind of, we take turns pointing and go, your fault, your fault, your fault. And our politicians, your fault, your fault, your fault. But nobody's being the adult in the room and bringing everybody in saying, we're all going to sit here for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days until we come up with a plan, and we're going to make this better. I'm sick and tired of what we're seeing. I don't want another kid killing themselves over sex torture. I don't want to see another child sexual abuse material image on the internet not being investigated because we don't have resources. Are you kidding me? Right? Let's get people in the room and solve this. These are solvable problems. But it takes, unfortunately, DC to be functioning and somebody to be the adult in the room and bring us together and say, well, let's come up with this. Here's our 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan on how do we make this better. But we do stopgaps. Something gets really bad. We see one thing, awful incident happens. We change quickly a law, one law. And it might be a state or 2 states or the whole country, but it's just one little law, not the whole picture. We don't come up with a strategic plan to protect our kids. It doesn't exist, right? There's no government.
Well, that's the part I don't understand, Kevin, because I think we've spoken about this in the past, even, true collaboration, right? This is also bipartisan, doesn't belong to a political party. Washington, they work for us. As you pointed out, there are great solutions out there, right? Why doesn't law enforcement, why aren't they automatically given those resources to help intervene and prevent a lot of this? Why do they have to fight so hard? Because I hear that over and over again. We don't have the monies. We don't have the resources. We don't. Why? Why? The only thing I can come up with, Kevin, again, another program, is I guess people are making so much money, things are overlooked, but at the price of, our American families, our children. And this really has to end. So there is a lot of hope. A lot of people are more aware, more groups and organizations speaking out, more parents, educated. But I'm very concerned, just going back to this radicalization, because I feel like it's really simmering and it hit a nerve, especially with these young men, teen boys that think you explain, you're the expert, it's cool to be violent. It's cool to hate women or girls, or it's cool. I'm going to blow something up, or where does this sit right now? Is there actively, what goes on with that? I don't know. I don't know any groups really. Law enforcement obviously is working on all of that, but I don't really know any groups talking about it or putting the word out too much about it. What do you know?
It's tough. Look, these radicalized young boys, right? And 15, 18, 22 to me, still all young boys, right? They're
Me too.
They're not men at that point. I don't care their age. These are most of them are they're just guys who don't belong anywhere, don't fit in, and somebody finds them. I have seen kids in this go from, ISIS follower gonna kill for the sake of ISIS, and then 3 weeks later they're a neo-Nazi, right? And they flip like that. It is because it's not the ideology. It's the hate. There's an anger. So I'm a kid. I'm isolated. I don't have friends. I don't fit in. Being a teenager is hard. Being a teenager is super hard in this world. And a lot of our teenagers suffer through temporary mental illness. This is not long-term. It's not forever, but teenage years are tough. And so lots of teenagers drink, they do drugs. We do stupid things as teens, right? But there's these vulnerable kids, and so they're looking to belong, and they have a side of anger to them because they don't belong. It's hurtful. It's hurtful to go to school every day and look at everybody else smiling, and inside you're the saddest thing on the planet. That's hurtful. So when I'm online and I'm in these things and I'm in groups, and then somebody starts feeding me information, and that information could be going towards school shooting. It could be going towards being a violent jihadist with following Al Qaeda. It could be in white supremacy. It could be a whole mess of things. One of them persons finds me and starts feeding me some stuff and talking to me, but also just seeing me as a human being and taking my anger and helping me point it in a direction.
Yeah.
It's the recipe for disaster is there, right? Like it's there. It's an easy trajectory, but it's also easy to find, right? It's easy to every violent extremist who's committed murder did not do it in a vacuum. They screamed it somewhere. We weren't listening. Right? You don't go from, quiet, shy kid or even happy-go-lucky kid to walking into a place with an automatic weapon and start blowing away people, alone. You screamed for a long time, and then it happened. We're not listening to the screams. We're not, doing it as parents. We don't understand it. They're not my kid, but also just not understanding what's going on. To law enforcement, my years at NYPD, New York City, we spent a lot of time being very proactive, looking for violent jihadists, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, you name an extremist, violent extremist group, we were looking for them. Spend a lot of time online. You find the groups, you can find them. But we found lots and lots of them. Overwhelming majority in the end weren't in New York. So we had to put a lot of time, money, energy into looking for these guys. And then we're passing a lead to California, to the UK, to the French, whoever else out there. Police departments aren't made that way, right? Jurisdictions don't work that way. Because of what's gone on in New York City, we push things and we spent the time and energy. But other police departments across the country don't. And I don't blame them. We just haven't, as people, decided this is what we're going to do. We proposed looking for school shooters at my time there, in New York City. And we never did. The answer, most of the time I got was, well, that doesn't happen here. And it's like, well, it doesn't happen anywhere until it happens, right? Like, there's no town out there going saying we own it. Like no, it happens at some point. But, we could put together a law enforcement team, go online, find these kids, identify them, and the overwhelming majority, you're going to just get them help, right? Like if a person is talking about they're aspiring, they're in love with the previous school shooters, like they fantasize about them, that's somebody you can help. If they're in operational, that was the line for us always. If they're in an operational point, they're going to jail, right? Like there's no, you bought the stuff to make the bomb, you're going to jail. If you're screaming online that you think this should be done, I don't know if I've ever seen one that wasn't helpable in the end. But we put a lot of time into finding, like I said, the violent extremists, identifying them, and then making notifications. Having somebody go meet them. It's a 15-year-old kid. Go meet them with their parents. Go meet them with their school psychiatrist. Go meet them with this, and get a ton of people involved in their mental health. I don't think it's ever happened where there was an interdiction like that, and then the kid actually went out and committed an act of violence.
Really?
Well, for us, right? Like I'm sure in the world, but I'm sure if we took every case in the US, the UK, France, I'm sure there's going to be one, right, too, where the
but that's a good indication, your experience. Like what?
Yeah,
but also this child, I'm going to call him a child, actually, probably liked all that attention that they were getting in some weird way, right? That they were having people look at them or talk to them or something. I don't know. I just know that this problem is not talked about enough, this radicalization. Yeah, sure, when something horrible happens, then it hits the media for a day and then it goes away. And I like that you pointed out they always do leave some sort of manifesto. They're online. Yeah, they're online. They're talking to other kids. We always hear that after the fact, like, oh, so how do we get in there I guess as you pointed out, beforehand, it's more awareness, it's more paying attention, it's more talking to kids. And I really think it's like, you get up, you eat, you brush your teeth, you go to work, you go to school, you got to incorporate all this talk into your daily life.
Yeah.
Right, Kevin? Like, I don't know how else. I'm always trying to come up with ways to do things. I don't know how else to do it except that way. Keep talking in the community, in the home, in the community, right? Because we can all go to Washington, do what we're doing, but there's so much red tape. It takes so long. There's, let's face it, weaponization. I mean, these are kids. We shouldn't have to fight so hard for protecting kids, no matter what you believe in, politics, whatever that stuff is, right? This is about our children. So leave us with, from your like law enforcement, your standpoint, what needs to change right now? A lot needs to change, but policy, enforcement, accountability to protect kids, all of it. What do you want to leave our listeners with? Because I know this is a lot we're throwing at them, and I want them to think about radicalization. Oh, maybe that's my son, because I get a lot of this, Kevin, or daughter. Actually, why is it more boys with this radicalization? Or we always hear about boys. We don't seem to hear too much about girls. I can think of one girl lately.
There's a
She might
couple
have gone by a boy, but she was a girl. Like, why is it always boys I hear about?
there's differences between boys and girls and men and women. The loneliness we both suffer, men and women, young kids. Boys seem to be brought towards the violence. Girls seem to be brought towards sexual exploitation.
That's right.
That's kind of the path the predators out there that are looking for those vulnerable kids. They're bringing our girls towards sexual exploitation. They're bringing our boys towards violence. It's just, maybe that's a supernatural difference between men and women kind of thing. But that's where it goes.
Right. I guess the boys are easier to go in the direction of violence, that manipulation. The girls, I don't like saying it, easier to fall into that sexual exploitation. You're beautiful, all that kind of stuff. So we got a lot of work to do, Kevin. I know you're doing it. I'm doing it. A lot of people are doing it. But finish us up with again, like I said, I want people to really just think about this radicalization. I started saying, because people say it to me, if their child's in their bedroom quiet, like they think this is good, when that's where under your own roof all of this is happening on these devices, right? Just because they're home, they're not safe. I want to point that out. That's why these conversations are so necessary to have. What do you want to happen right now? We're heading into May almost of 2026, the year 2026. Give us some things that need to be done. We have to work on.
It's the one biggest thing is what I said. We need an adult in the room who's bringing us all together, because this is not, it is nobody's fault and everybody's problem, right? That's what this comes down to. With our kids, we got to be better at asking them questions. Tell me about what you did on the, what you were doing with your game today. Tell me about Fortnite. What do you guys do? What do you think? What's that? You got to ask questions about this. Play a video game with your kids.
I was going to say, play the games. I used to try to play the games too.
I played catch with my father outside. My responsibility now is to play Fortnite with my kid. Right? Like it's that same bond. You have to have something. Now, personally, I'd rather you took your kid outside more and did those other things, right? Like be the parent who takes your kids outside. I take my kids hiking. I am outside playing with them whenever I can. Right, like that. That's
the best with nature outside. Yeah.
Teach them that, right? But take an interest in your kids. If you're giving them that device, take an interest in what they're doing. You are not going to beat them with technology. You can pay for all sorts of monitoring things. I just dealt this personally with somebody close to me. They have their kids. They had a phone. They locked down. Can't have any social media apps. The kid had multiple accounts because they figured out a way around it. They went into the browser and then open it in the browser. And then you can open up a different browser because you block it on that. They're smarter than us when it comes to this stuff. They have an army of other kids around them who are going to show them and learn and figure it out. We try to deal with this by ourselves as parents. So my kid will never get a phone. My kid will never get this. Well, that's the same thing as locking your kid up until they're 18 in your house. How's that going to work out for you? Like the first day outside is that they're 18? Come on. That's the kid who's never been exposed to alcohol and goes away to college and binge drinks, right? Like locking them down has never worked.
Worse.
Spending time with them, educating them has always worked. That's our responsibility as parents. I use this phrase often: parenting hasn't changed in 100 years. Spend time with your kids. The text changed. It's scary, fine. You don't have to be a tech expert. You have to be there for your kid and talk to your kid. Let them teach you. They'll enjoy teaching you, especially when they're younger, what they've learned. They'll enjoy showing you. Mom wants to sit with me and see this. That matters to them at a young age, right? That means something to them. And now you've planted the seed. The seeds have been planted because I've sat there and I played those games with them. I sat there and I watched my kids watch videos of people playing video games. Then they'll watch it for hours and it blows my mind. Like, really? Like, you're watching a video of a guy playing video games? Okay.
But that's their world, Kevin. Like that, it's not their fault. That's what they've been dealt. So it's our job, as you're pointing out, to reel it in, right? We're not going to get rid of it. When you're talking about kids, I know kids here in New York, they're buying burner phones at 9 years old, like the kids are savvy and smart, and telling them no and locking it down and all the devices in the world. Yeah, they may help a little bit, but kids know how to get around it. So stepping up.
Beat us with tech. We will never beat them with tech.
Unbelievable.
You can't beat your kid with technology.
So we have to learn how to deal with it. Let's be realistic here. We have to. Wow, I think it's probably a good point to stop on. Well, I want everybody. Again, I'll have it, Kevin, in the body of the video. National Child Protection Task Force, NCPTF.org. Learn about resources. Learn about donating. Learn about participating. That is what is needed. So, Kevin, this just wasn't informative. This really was laying out kind of a clear picture. I know people don't want to talk about radicalization, but it's really a wake-up call, because we're seeing more kids, or hearing about more kids falling, and young men into this whole area. And as you pointed out, none of this is rare. I mean, this is all like everybody's problem. And it is complex, and it is a wheel with a lot of spokes, and all those spokes, it's a lot for people, because they always say, Lynn, it's too much for me. And I'm like, well, when your child dies, which is a very horrible thing to say to somebody, but that's because I deal with a lot of parents whose children are no longer around. Like, you got to wake up now. But certainly, Kevin's sharing, coming on the Warriors, and your experience and your clarity and willingness to speak about reality, not sugarcoating anything. You could probably even go more on everything.
Yeah, we could go
that'll be our next show, because I'm at a point where I used to tiptoe a little bit, Kevin. I sort of don't tiptoe anymore, because it's the drastic times call for drastic measures with people waking up in America. So I just want to say, on behalf of Lynn's Warriors, absolutely thank you for your service. Thank you for doing what you do. Promise me we're not going to wait so long for you to come back next time. But it's like every day we got to brainwash everybody. We got to keep talking about this. We have to keep sharing things. We got to at least get people to say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Let me look into it," or let me follow the task force, or let me reach out to Lynn and see, like, where are the resources. You're doing a wonderful job. So I thank you. So let us definitely promise me you're going to come back and speak to me again soon. A lot to talk about, Kevin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it. I appreciate you and the effort you put out there into this world. We all need to be part of this battle. So thank you.
Kevin, you're a warrior, Kevin Branzetti. That's what I call you. You're today's warrior. Thank you. We will definitely speak again soon. Thank you.
Okay.